Ethan Walker moved carefully through the dark alien forest. The wind carried a strange metallic smell, like old machines mixed with wet soil. His boots sank slightly into the blue moss that covered the ground, and each step made a soft crunching sound. He checked his scanner again, watching the screen flicker with a weak and broken distress signal. It was not human, and it was very old, but something in it felt like a cry for help. Ethan was an explorer, not a soldier. He came to this planet to study wildlife and collect plant samples. He never expected to find anything alive that was asking for help, but the signal grew stronger the deeper he walked into the forest. The trees twisted above him like giant bones, blocking most of the moonlight. He felt like the forest was watching him, waiting to see what he would do next. After almost an hour, the signal led him to a huge rocky cliff. There was a dark opening in the rock, a cave mouth wide enough for a small ship to enter. Cold air flowed out from inside, brushing against his skin like a warning. Ethan took a long breath, switched on his helmet light, and stepped inside. The cave was quiet, too quiet. His light beam cut through the darkness, showing broken stones, deep cracks in the walls, and strange markings that looked like ancient writing. He walked slowly, feeling the ground tremble under his feet as if something deeper inside was moving. His scanner beeped once, sharp and loud. The signal was close now, very close. But it was mixed with another reading, something warm, something alive. Not one life, but several. Ethan raised his light higher. "Hello," he called, his voice echoing softly. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he added, hoping someone could understand him. The cave swallowed his words, and for a moment there was no sound at all. Then he heard it. A soft cry. Not human, not animal, something in between. A sound full of pain and fear. Ethan moved toward the cry. His light caught movement in the far corner of the cave. Something shifted in the shadows, hiding, trembling, watching him. Ethan stopped, not wanting to scare whatever it was. He pointed his light gently to the side, so it would not shine directly at the creature. Then slowly, a figure stepped forward. It was a woman, or at least shaped like one. Her skin was pale silver, glowing softly in the darkness. Her eyes were large and bright, deep green like shining crystals. Her breathing was weak, her arms shaking as she tried to stand between Ethan and something behind her. She was protecting something. Ethan lowered his scanner. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." But she did not believe him yet. Her voice came out cracked, frightened. "Stay back," she whispered. Ethan could hear the fear in every word, but he could also hear exhaustion, the kind that comes from long suffering. Behind her, 3 small shapes moved. Children, alien children, hiding behind her legs. Their eyes glowed faintly, watching Ethan with fear and curiosity. They looked thin, hungry, and tired. Their small hands grabbed the mother's arms, silently begging her not to fall. Ethan took off his helmet to show his face. He knelt slowly, placing his hands on the ground to look less threatening. "I'm not your enemy," he said gently. "I only followed your signal." The mother's eyes widened. "You hurt us," she whispered, her voice shaking. "No one comes. No one answers. We are alone here." Ethan could see that she was hurt. A deep wound ran along her side, covered with dried green blood. She had been fighting to stay alive for a long time. He opened his backpack and pulled out a small emergency food pack. He placed it on the ground and pushed it gently toward her. The children stared at it like it was treasure. The mother hesitated, but she finally reached out and took it. She opened it and gave the food to her children first. Ethan felt his chest tighten when he saw that. Even in pain, even starving, she cared only about them. After a moment, she looked at him again. Her eyes were full of fear, but also hope, a tiny shining hope that refused to die. "You came," she whispered. "You are human. Strong, not like us anymore." She stepped closer, shaking, barely able to stand. Then she said the words Ethan never expected to hear, words heavy with desperation. "Please, help my family. She took one more trembling breath and whispered the impossible. "Please, become my husband and father to my children, or we will all die here." Ethan froze, shocked and speechless. The cave became silent again, but this time the silence felt alive, waiting for his answer. Ethan stood frozen in the cold air of the cave. He could still hear her words echoing around him, words that felt impossible. She wanted him to become her husband, to protect her children, to save them from death. Ethan had faced dangerous planets, strange storms and unknown creatures before, but nothing had ever shocked him like this moment. The alien mother watched him carefully. Her breathing was weak, her body trembling from exhaustion. Her children clung to her legs, their small eyes shifting between fear and hope. Ethan slowly raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. "I need to understand," he said gently. "Why are you here? What happened to you?" The mother lowered herself to the ground, sitting with a soft groan of pain. The children curled beside her, keeping close as if scared she would disappear if they let go. She looked at Ethan for a long time, trying to judge if he was trustworthy. Finally she nodded. "If you wish to know, I will tell you," she whispered. Her voice was soft but full of deep sadness. "My name is Saraha," she said. "My people call themselves Elvari." Ethan listened carefully, noticing how her words were broken, as if she had not spoken for many days. Saraha gently touched the heads of her children. "These are my little ones, Liri, Toma, and Sail," she said. "They are all I have left." She took a slow breath, her eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. "We lived far from this place, in a peaceful valley where our families grew food and shared everything." She paused, blinking back tears as her memories grew sharper. "But one day, war came to our world." Ethan leaned forward. "War?" he repeated quietly. Saraha nodded, her voice shaking. "The sky burned red. Soldiers from another tribe attacked us. We Elvari do not like war. We do not want a fight," she said. "They wanted our land, our resources, our technology." She closed her eyes as if the memories hurt her. "My partner, the father of my children, tried to protect us. He fought with everything he had, though he hated violence." Tears rolled down her pale silver cheeks as she spoke the next words. "He died saving us. And we ran." Her children pressed their faces against her body, as if they knew the story, even without understanding all the words. Ethan felt a heavy pain in his chest. He had lost people too. He knew the look of someone who carried grief every day. Saraha continued. "We ran into the forest. We hid, but our own people believed we were too weak to survive the war. They left us behind, thinking it was kinder than letting the enemies find us." Ethan frowned. "They abandoned you?" he asked softly. Saraha nodded again, her voice filled with hurt. "Yes, I begged them to let me stay with the others. But they said a mother with young children would slow them down. They believed we were already lost." Ethan took a deep breath, trying to imagine the pain of being left behind by your own kind. Saraha looked around the dark cave. "I found this place," she said. "It was the only shelter we had. We lived here for many moons, hiding from hunters, searching for food, trying to stay alive." Ethan noticed how thin she looked, how her bones were visible under her silver skin. She had used all her strength to protect her children. Saraha lifted her chin slightly. "There is a rule among my people," she said. "A family must stay together. A family must have a protector. If a mother is alone without a partner, the predators of this planet sense weakness. They hunt families without protectors." Ethan finally understood why the hunters came so often. "They knew you were vulnerable," he whispered. Saraha nodded. "Yes, and I am too weak to fight now. I sent a signal long ago, hoping anyone would find us. I never expected a human to come." She studied Ethan with tired eyes. "You have strength, tools, courage," she said softly. "My children saw how you chased the predators away earlier. They believe you can keep us safe. Ethan looked at the three small children. They were watching him quietly, their eyes wide and hopeful. One of them, Leary, crawled forward and placed a small hand on Ethan's boot. Ethan felt his heart twist at the touch. Saraha pulled her children close again. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I do not ask this for myself," she said. "I ask for them. If you leave us, we will not survive." The cave grew still again. Ethan felt the weight of his next decision pressing on him like a mountain. He wanted to help. He needed to help. But becoming their protector, becoming family, was something he never imagined. Saraha met his eyes. "Please, Ethan Walker, tell me, will you help us, Lev?" She whispered. Her voice trembled with fear and hope. The children waited silently, holding their breath. And Ethan felt something new rising inside him, a mix of duty, compassion, and something deeper he could not name yet. The darkness of the cave watched silently, waiting for his answer. The cave was silent after Saraha finished her story. Ethan felt the weight of everything she had suffered. The pain of losing her partner, the fear of hiding alone, the hopelessness of being abandoned by her own people. He looked at the three children again, small and fragile, their glowing eyes full of fear and trust at the same time. He did not know what to say yet, but his heart was already leaning in one direction. He opened his mouth to speak, but then he heard something else. A sound from deeper inside the forest. At first it was soft, almost like the whisper of wind. But then it grew louder, heavier, sharper. It was the sound of footsteps, not human footsteps, dragging across stone and dirt. Saraha's body stiffened instantly. Her children grabbed her arms, their tiny claws digging into her skin as they trembled. "No, not again," she whispered, her voice cracking with fear. Ethan stood up, instincts kicking in. "What is it?" he asked, though he already suspected the answer. Saraha pulled her children closer. "The hunters. They return when they sense weakness," she said. "They smell fear. They smell blood. They smell us." Ethan grabbed his scanner, and the device flashed with red signals. Multiple life forms outside the cave. Moving fast, too fast, Ethan stepped toward the entrance, switching on the protective shield built into his suit. "Stay back," he said firmly. Saraha shook her head, her voice trembling. "They are not like animals. They hunt in groups. They do not stop until everything is dead." The sounds grew louder, the scraping of claws against stone, the deep growls echoing through the cave walls. Ethan tightened his grip on his stun baton. His weapon wasn't made for large predators, but it was what he had. He positioned himself between the family and the cave entrance. A shadow moved outside, then another. Ethan could see glowing red eyes staring in from the darkness. Dozens of them, slow, stalking, patient. Saraha gasped. "There are more this time. Many more." She looked at Ethan with panic rising in her voice. "You cannot fight them alone." Ethan glanced back at her and forced a small smile. "Good thing I'm not completely alone," he said calmly. "Our friends here seem to believe in me." One of the creatures stepped inside the cave light. It was huge, its body covered in rough black scales, its mouth split open into 4 jagged sections, dripping with green saliva. Its claws were long and curved, perfect for ripping apart prey. Ethan activated his baton, and the weapon glowed bright blue, humming with energy. The monster roared, shaking loose dust from the ceiling. Ethan felt the ground vibrate beneath him, but he did not step back. The creature lunged. Ethan dodged to the side and struck its leg with the baton. A flash of blue sparks erupted, and the creature screamed in pain. It stumbled, giving Ethan a moment to breathe. But then 3 more appeared behind it, and more shadows gathered outside, waiting for the moment to attack. Saraha cried out, "Ethan, please, they will kill you." But Ethan shook his head. "No, not today," he said. "I'm not letting anything happen to your family." The cave filled with growls, screams, and flashes of blue electricity. Ethan fought with everything he had. His baton struck claws, jaws, and thick scales. Each hit sent sparks across the cave walls. But the hunters kept coming. They were fast, coordinated, and hungry. One of them leaped toward Saraha. Ethan saw it too late. "Saraha, down!" he shouted. She shielded her children with her body, bracing for the attack. But Ethan threw himself across the cave, slamming his shoulder into the creature mid-jump. The impact knocked both of them to the ground. The creature roared in rage, snapping its jaw inches from Ethan's face. Ethan jammed the baton between its teeth and activated the full power burst. A shockwave of blue light blasted the creature back into the wall. Ethan stumbled to his feet, breathing hard. The hunters outside hesitated, confused by the sudden energy blast. Ethan pointed the baton at them. "Come on then," he said through clenched teeth. "I've got plenty more." But he knew he didn't. His power was almost empty, his body already bruised. Still, he stood tall, refusing to move, refusing to let even one creature near the mother or her children. The hunters growled, stepping forward again. But something unexpected happened. Saraha rose to her feet, glowing softly. Her children stood behind her, their eyes bright with courage. "No more fear," she whispered. "We have a protector now." The hunters paused, confused by the sudden change in the family. Ethan used the moment to strike the cave wall controls, activating an emergency barrier he had installed earlier. A bright energy shield formed over the cave entrance, blocking the hunters out. The monsters slammed against it, roaring, but the barrier held. At last the forest quieted again. The hunters retreated, melting back into the shadows of the night. In the cave, Ethan fell to one knee. Exhausted but alive, Saraha moved to him, her eyes filled with deep emotion. "You saved us again," she whispered. Her children surrounded him, touching his arms gently. And for the first time, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years. A sense of family forming around him. The cave was quiet after the hunters finally left. Only the soft sound of Ethan's breathing filled the air. He sat against the cold wall, sweat running down his face, his muscles shaking from the fight. Saraha watched him with wide eyes, unable to understand how a single human had faced so many hunters alone and survived. Her children stayed close to him, touching his arms gently as if checking if he was still alive. Ethan gave them a tired smile. "I'm okay," he whispered. But his body was telling a different story. He felt every bruise, every cut, every ounce of exhaustion pulling him down. Saraha knelt in front of him, her glowing green eyes focused on his wounds. "You risked everything for us," she said softly, her voice shaking with emotion. "You fought when we had no strength left." Ethan coughed a little, holding his ribs. "It's what anyone would do," he said. But Saraha gently shook her head. "No, not anyone," she whispered. "Many saw our suffering before, and they walked away." The children curled beside Ethan. Leary sat on his right, Toma on his left, and the smallest, Sail, climbed into his lap and rested his head on Ethan's chest. Ethan blinked in surprise, but he didn't push the child away. He slowly placed a hand on the little one's back, feeling the soft warmth under his fingers. Saraha watched the scene with disbelief. "My children. They trust you," she whispered. "They have never trusted anyone so quickly." Ethan looked at the 3 pairs of glowing eyes staring up at him. "I guess they can tell I'm not here to hurt them," he said. The mother nodded. "They feel your heart," she said softly. "Your heart speaks louder than your words." Ethan tried to stand, but the pain made him wince. Saraha moved instantly, helping him rise with gentle hands. Despite her weakness, she supported him carefully, guiding him deeper into the cave to rest. They reached a corner where the ground was softer, covered with warm moss and woven blankets Saraha had made from plant fibers. "Sit here," she said, her voice kind but firm. Ethan obeyed, lowering himself slowly into the soft spot. Saraha brought a small bowl filled with glowing water extracted from a healing plant. "This will help your wounds," she said. Ethan allowed her to dab the cool liquid onto his cuts. A warm tingling spread through his skin, soothing the pain little by little. "Thank you," he whispered. Saraha paused, looking surprised. "For what?" she asked softly. "For helping me," Ethan said. "For trusting me." Saraha lowered her head slightly, her cheeks glowing with faint silver light. "No. It is we who must thank you," she said. "You gave us hope again." Hours passed. Slowly, but the atmosphere inside the cave changed. The heavy fear that once choked the air began to fade, replaced by a calm warmth that spread between them. As Ethan's strength returned, he stood and looked around the cave. "You've survived here a long time," he said gently. Saraha nodded. "But it was never safe," she replied. "The hunters always come back." Ethan took a deep breath. "We need to make this place stronger," he said. "A real shelter. One that can keep you safe even when I'm not right next to you." Saraha watched him with curious eyes as he unpacked tools from his bag. Small machines, lights, scanners, and protective field devices. He walked around the cave, scanning the walls, measuring weak points, inspecting the entrance. Saraha followed him slowly, amazed by everything he was doing. "You humans, you build so fast," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "We build when we want to keep something safe," he said. "And I want to keep you safe." The children helped him too, carrying small tools or shining lights where he needed them. They giggled softly when one of his devices beeped or buzzed. The cave felt lighter, filled with soft laughter instead of fear. As Ethan worked, Saraha watched him from a distance. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of awe and something deeper, something she didn't fully understand yet. He was not just a protector, not just a stranger. He was becoming something more, something important. When evening came, Ethan sat beside the fire Saraha had made. The children curled up beside him again, their small bodies warm against his sides. Saraha sat across from him, her hands folded together. For the first time in many nights, she felt safe enough to relax. "You changed the air in this cave," she whispered. "Before, it was full of fear. Now it feels like home." Ethan met her eyes. His voice was quiet, sincere. "I'm trying my best," he said, "and I'm not going anywhere." Saraha felt something warm spread through her chest. Hope, trust, and a strange new feeling she had almost forgotten. She whispered softly, more to herself than to him, Maybe we were not abandoned." Ethan looked at her, puzzled. "What do you mean?" he asked. Saraha smiled for the first time since he met her. "Maybe we were waiting for the right protector," she whispered. "And maybe he finally found us." The fire crackled softly. The children slept peacefully for the first time in many nights, and in the warm glow of the cave, a bond stronger than fear began to grow between human and alien. The next morning, the cave felt warm and peaceful. For the first time since Ethan arrived, Saraha slept without fear. The children curled beside him like small blankets of glowing silver. Ethan sat quietly, watching the flickering fire and listening to the gentle breathing around him. He felt something strange inside, a feeling he had almost forgotten, a quiet sense of belonging. When Saraha finally woke, she smiled softly, a tired but peaceful smile. "You worked all night," she whispered. Seeing the new devices around the cave, Ethan shrugged. "I wanted to make sure you're safe," he said. Saraha touched one of the new barriers gently. "You are giving us more than safety," she whispered. "You are giving us hope again." But hope did not last long. Ethan's scanner beeped sharply, a sound he had learned to fear. He checked the screen, and his expression changed instantly. Red signals, many of them, moving fast toward the cave. Saraha saw his face and froze. She whispered, her voice trembling, "They returned so soon." The children sensed her fear and clung to her tightly. Ethan stood quickly, gripping his weapons. "How many hunters come at once?" he asked. Saraha swallowed hard. "When they fail to kill their prey, they come back in larger groups. Today they come to finish what they started." The rumbling outside grew louder. The ground shook as huge shapes moved through the forest. Shadows crawled across the cave walls like living darkness, the smell of rotten leaves and predator. Musk filled the air. Ethan activated the energy barrier at the entrance. A bright blue shield sealed the front of the cave. "Stay behind me," he said firmly. Saraha pulled her children close, her hands shaking. "You cannot fight them alone this time," she whispered. Ethan's eyes hardened with determination. "I'm not letting anything happen to you," he said quietly. "Not now, not ever." The first hunter slammed into the barrier. The impact shook the entire cave. Sending dust falling from the ceiling, the creature roared, a deep, tearing sound that made the children cry out. Another hunter attacked the shield from the left, then another from the right. Soon the front of the cave looked like a wall of black claws and red glowing eyes. Saraha held her children close, whispering in their ears, "Do not fear. Our protector is here." But she could hear the fear in her own voice. The energy shield flickered dangerously. It was strong, but it wasn't designed to hold forever. Ethan analyzed the barrier strength. 6 minutes, he muttered. "That's all this shield can hold." Saraha felt her heart drop. "And after 6 minutes?" She asked quietly. Ethan looked at her with steady eyes. "Then I fight." The hunters sensed the weakening shield. They pushed harder, slammed faster, their roars shaking loose stones from the walls. Ethan stepped forward as the barrier flickered. Again, he tightened the straps on his gloves, preparing the electric shocks built into them. He powered his baton to maximum charge. It hummed with blue fire. Saraha watched the courage in his eyes and felt a terrible mix of fear and admiration. "You do not have to do this," she whispered. Ethan looked back at her. "Yes, I do," he said simply. "Because you're my responsibility now." Shield cracked with a loud spark. A hunter's claw pierced through, slicing the air inches from Ethan's face. The children screamed. The mother covered them with her wings. Ethan jumped back, ready to fight. With a final burst of force, the shield shattered. The hunters burst into the cave like a wave of darkness and teeth. Ethan charged forward. His baton struck the first hunter's skull, sending a blast of blue sparks through the cave. The creature roared and collapsed, but 2 more leaped over its body. Ethan dodged one, punched the second in the jaw. Electric bursts shooting through his fist, but there were too many. They circled him, claws scraping against the floor, eyes fixed on him with hungry rage. Saraha cried out, "Ethan!" He gritted his teeth. "I'm fine. Stay back." One hunter lunged at him from behind. Saraha screamed as the creature struck, but Ethan rolled to the side and slammed his baton into the creature's neck. Blue light exploded. The cave lit up like a storm. But the hunters kept coming. They surrounded him, pushing him back. Claws tearing at his suit, Ethan stumbled, falling to one knee. A hunter raised its claws to strike him down. Saraha acted without thinking. She stood tall, her silver skin glowing bright. She released a sharp, powerful cry, a protective call. Of her species, the hunters froze, confused by the sound. Ethan used the opening. He pressed a hidden button on his wrist device. A blinding flash erupted from the ground. A shockwave blasted through the cave, throwing the hunters backward. Stone cracked, dust filled the air, and the monsters scrambled out of the cave in fear. When the light faded, Ethan fell forward, barely conscious. Saraha rushed to him, catching him before he hit the ground. Her children surrounded him, crying softly. Saraha held Ethan in her arms. "You saved us again," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You risk everything, even your life, for my family." Ethan looked up at her weakly. "I told you," he whispered. "I'm not leaving you." And for the first time, Saraha believed him completely. The cave was filled with dust and the fading echo of the shockwave. Ethan released. Saraha held him tightly, her arms trembling as she felt the heat of his body. He was breathing, but his breaths were weak and uneven. Her children were gathered around him, touching his hands and his face, whispering tiny cries of fear. Saraha's heart shook with panic. She had seen loss before. She had felt it tear her. life apart. And now, seeing Ethan hurt because he protected them, she felt the same fear growing inside her again. Stay with me. Stay with us, she whispered, her voice breaking like thin glass. You cannot leave. Not after everything you have done. Ethan opened his eyes slowly. His vision was blurry. But Sarah's glowing face came into focus. The brightness of her eyes reflected pain, fear, and something softer. Something he had never seen in her eyes before. I'm okay, he whispered weakly. Sarah shook her head, tears running down her silver cheeks. No, you are hurt because of us. She said, you fought for us. Again and again, Ethan managed a faint smile. I fought because you needed me, he said. Because someone had to protect you. Sarah gently touched his cheek. Her fingers were warm, trembling softly against his skin. You do not understand, she whispered, in my people's tradition. When someone protects a family with their life, they become part of that family. Ethan blinked slowly. What does that mean? He asked in a soft voice. Sarah lowered her head, her silver hair falling around her face like soft light. It means you are no longer a stranger, she said. It means you are tied to us. Her voice softened even more. And it means my children now see you as their protector. As their father, the smallest child, Sale, climbed into Ethan's lap again. He pressed his forehead gently against Ethan's chest. Toma held Ethan's hand tightly, refusing to let go. Leary wrapped her arms around Ethan from behind, resting her head on his shoulder. Ethan felt something warm spread through him, a feeling deeper than duty, deeper than protection, a feeling he had not allowed himself to feel for a long time. Belonging. Sarah watched the scene with shining eyes. They accept you, she whispered. They choose you. Ethan swallowed hard, emotions rising in his throat. He looked at Sarah. And you? He asked softly, do you accept me? Sarah froze for a moment, her breath caught, her voice locked inside her chest. Then she moved closer, sitting right beside him. She placed her hand over his heart. Her touch was soft, warm, gentle. I accept you, she said quietly, because you gave us safety when we had none. Because you gave my children a chance to laugh again, and because you gave me hope when I believed it was gone forever. Ethan felt a tightness in his chest loosen. He allowed himself to breathe deeper, allowed himself to feel the warmth of Sarah's hand, the weight of the children leaning against him, the sense of family beginning to form. Sarah continued, her voice trembling with sincerity. In my people's law, a protector becomes a partner. If both hearts agree. She looked down, afraid he might reject her words. I know this is strange for you, she whispered. You are human. I am Elvari. But the bond we feel is real. Ethan reached out and gently touched her hand. His voice was soft but steady. I don't care what species you are, he said. I care that you're kind, that you're strong, and that you love your children. And I care that I want to protect all of you. Sarah's eyes widened with emotion. Her breath trembled as she felt something she had buried since her partner died. A second chance. Ethan slowly sat up straighter, ignoring the pain. He placed a hand over Sarah's, holding it gently. If you still want me to be part of your family, he said softly, I want to stay. Sarah covered her mouth, overcome by emotion. You want to stay? She whispered. Ethan nodded. You need safety, he said. Your children need a protector. And I want to be that protector. The children began to cheer. Softly, their small voices happy and relieved. They hugged Ethan tightly, giggling with joy. Sarah watched them, tears falling freely now. Tears not of fear or loss, but of happiness. She leaned closer to Ethan. Her forehead touched his gently. In Elvari culture, it was a sign of deep trust and acceptance. Welcome to our family, she whispered. My heart and my children's hearts are yours now. Ethan closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt whole, safe, wanted. And in that quiet moment, inside a cave far from Earth, A human and an alien formed a bond stronger than fear, stronger than pain, stronger than the darkness outside. A bond called family. Morning light slowly crept into the cave. Soft golden rays touched the walls, making the silver patterns on Saraha's skin glow gently. Ethan woke with the children sleeping around him. Their small bodies curled against his like warm little stars. Saraha sat beside him, watching him. With calm, peaceful eyes, for the first time since he arrived on this planet, Ethan felt rested. He felt safe, and most of all, he felt like he belonged. Saraha smiled when he opened his eyes. "Good morning," she whispered. Her voice was soft and warm. Ethan stretched slowly, ignoring the leftover pain in his muscles. "Morning," he replied with a small smile. He glanced at the sleeping children and whispered, "They seem peaceful." Saraha nodded. "Yes, because they know they are protected now." Ethan stood and looked around the cave. The damage from the hunter attack was clear. Broken rocks, torn moss, scorched marks from his stun weapon. But despite all that, the cave felt different now. It was no longer a place of fear, it was a home. "We need to make everything stronger," Ethan said, his voice firm with purpose. "I want this cave to be a real home for all of us." Saraha watched him with a gentle expression. "You give us so much already," she whispered. "You do not need to." Ethan shook his head before she could finish. "I want to," he said quietly. "You're my family now." Her eyes softened, filled with emotion she couldn't hide. Hearing those words from him was like a new sunrise inside her heart. Together, they stepped outside. The forest was calm after the long night. Mist floated between the glowing trees, and strange blue birds called softly from high branches. Ethan looked around with new eyes. This planet was no longer just a mission. Sight, it was his new life. He began scanning the area around the cave, marking possible weak spots. The children followed him, excited to help. Leary carried a small toolkit, Toma held a scanner, and little Sail walked proudly with Ethan's datapad. Ethan laughed softly. "You three make a good team," he said. The children giggled, glowing with pride. Saraha walked behind them, watching. The way her children followed Ethan, watching the way Ethan guided them gently, carefully, lovingly. Her chest warmed with a feeling she had not felt in a very long time. Happiness. Ethan worked for hours, securing the entrance with stronger field generators, building hidden traps around the forest path, and placing sensors in the trees. Each device hummed softly, lighting up with a bright blue glow. Saraha helped by lifting heavy stones and bringing materials from the forest. Even injured, she moved with silent strength and grace. "You are amazing," Ethan told her once. Saraha looked away shyly. "No. I only do what any mother would do," she whispered. "But you give us more than safety." By afternoon, the defenses were fully upgraded. The cave now had 2 energy barriers, 1 hidden trapline, and motion sensors linked to Ethan's wrist device. If anything approached, they would know instantly when. They returned inside. The children ran ahead, laughing as they played with a glowing bug they found. Ethan watched them fondly. "They're strong," he said quietly. "They survived so much. But they still smile." Saraha stepped beside him. "They smile because of you," she whispered. "You gave them the chance to be children again." Ethan felt a deep warmth rush through him. He turned to her. "And what about you?" He asked gently. "Do you feel safe now?" Saraha took a slow breath. She reached for his hand, her fingers trembling slightly as they touched his. "With you, I feel something I thought I would never feel again," she whispered. "I feel a future." Ethan held her hand tightly. "And I want that future," he said. "Not just for the children, but with you." Saraha's eyes widened, shimmering. With deep emotion, she stepped closer, her forehead touching his in the Elvari sign of commitment. "Then you are truly one of us," she whispered, her voice shaking with happiness. Ethan wrapped an arm around her gently, the warmth of her touch, the softness of her breath, the trust in her eyes. All of it felt like home. Later, when the children were asleep, Ethan activated his comm device. A long-range transmitter blinked to life. He sent one final message to the human fleet. A simple message that carried a lifetime of meaning. "I'm not returning," he sent calmly. "I found a family here. And I choose to stay." Saraha approached him silently, placing her hand on his back. Ethan turned and smiled at her. She whispered softly, "Welcome home, Ethan Walker." Outside the cave, the twin suns rose together. Their light filled the forest with bright gold and soft silver, a symbol of two worlds joining, a symbol of a new beginning. And together, under that glowing sky, a human and an alien mother began a life built not from fear or survival, but from trust, hope, and chosen family.